I'm going to the big UN climate change conference in Katowice, Poland in December to tell you the other side of the story. But I can't do it without your help. I've been to the last 2 UN climate change conferences, and our viewers at home, through their generous donations, sent me to them. First, I just want to say thank you to all the viewers who donated, and thank you to all of you for trusting me to bring you the facts of these conferences as I see them. More than anything, we were there to expose the hypocrisy and the elitism of these very exclusive United Nations climate change events. That was pretty easy to do because, as I said, I've been to 2 of these things, and I'm fairly certain that I have been the only skeptical journalist in attendance both times. There are plenty of pro-climate change journalists and activist groups who are accredited to report from inside these climate change conferences, but not me. I've been denied journalistic accreditation twice, although the first refusal to accredit me was eventually reversed after we got lawyers and the Canadian government involved. And to be quite honest, I'm politely waiting on my 3rd refusal to accredit me right now. I'm kept out because I'm on the other side of the debate, the side of the climate change debate that says, I don't think any amount of taxes paid by struggling Canadian families is going to affect the weather. The only thing paying taxes to a United Nations wealth transfer scheme will ever do is make your family poorer and Al Gore richer. Besides being the only skeptic at these things, I think I might be probably the only normal person there. I don't have a chauffeur or a private jet at my disposal or a bottomless government expense account or the ability to charge my carbon offsets back to the taxpayer. I'm just a mom. I'm just a farmer. I drive an SUV. I drive a lot. And I'm just trying to make ends meet the same way everybody else is out there. That's why when I went to my first climate change conference 2 years ago in the Moroccan desert, I immediately noticed the fact that everything built in the desert at this weird conference that was supposed to fight climate change and plastic waste was actually plastic waste, just temporary and fake. I noticed that every morning the groundskeepers were watering the desert to keep the dust off the fancy delegates' expensive shoes as they walked into seminars about how to write policies for foreign nations about how best to reduce their water usage. I noticed that this conference in the desert was kept so artificially cool with the help of fossil fuel gobbling air conditioning that I had to wear a sweater and my nose constantly ran in the media room. And I noticed the idling buses and idling limousines all day long out front of the conference. And I also discovered that the electric car chargers in front of the conference weren't being used because they were also, just like everything else, completely fake, a prop, just meaningless virtue signaling. My reportage of those inconvenient truths and my questions to a Canadian delegate at the Moroccan conference are what led me to be banned from the following year's climate change conference in Bonn, Germany. I think the UN actually thought that would stop me from coming. Look, I get banned from stuff all the time, and it has literally never stopped me from going anywhere ever. Just ask Rachel Notley. In fact, looking back now, I'm sort of grateful for the ban because I wasn't stuffed inside the conference with boring, uppity delegates talking about abstract ideas and insufferable policy decisions put upon us by people who think they have the right to tell the rest of us how to live. I mean, yeah, we were outside just about the whole time, and we, of course, had to dress for the weather, but I'm Canadian, I'm of hardy stock, and I was kind of in my element. Instead, my cameraman/producer and I went to the German countryside, where we explored a big, beautiful coal mine, just a quick train ride from the anti-fossil fuel conference in the city. We took to the streets of Bonn, Germany, where we discovered a Greenpeace ship that runs on diesel but is mocked up to look like it's just a wooden sailboat. We found our friend Mark Morano from Climate Depot doing a little protest of his own that day. That exciting day ended with us being chased by Greenpeace. Look, I'm faster than I look, so it was fine. We were able to show you all the sights and sounds and crazy art installations, like the one about the pipeline and the polar bear and the weird climate refugee statues. Again, we did that through the lens of normalcy that you would absolutely never see in the sycophantic mainstream media. There was that really weird wooden effigy of Angela Merkel and the big inflatable globe, all the inflatable buildings that had to be maintained through these huge fossil-fueled fans. When I was in Bonn, I actually found a little piece of home too. I'm from Alberta, and you know Albertans, we love our diesel power, but apparently so do the climate change warriors at the United Nations. I guess we have a lot in common that way. I think that was one of the more fun things that we did when we were in Bonn. I followed the power cords back to the enormous diesel-powered generators that were running the entire disposable conference held along the Rhine River Valley. I'm not exaggerating even a little bit when I say there were so many diesel-powered generators running that conference that you had to raise your voice to talk over the hum of them to be heard when you were standing outside. So that's the kind of journalism we've done so far at these United Nations conferences, from inside the conference and, of course, from outside. And this year, at the beginning of December, I'm going to the UN Climate Change Conference in Katowice, Poland, whether they accredit me or not. I want to go again to expose the hypocrisy of these UN and government elites who are behind closed doors making rules for how you live your life while they live theirs as opulently as they please. I want to show you at home just how wasteful and fake and indulgent these conferences are, because absolutely nobody else is doing that. No one is telling the truth about these conferences. Nobody. But I need your help to do that. At The Rebel, we don't get $1.5 billion from the Canadian taxpayer like the CBC to fund our journalism. We are grassroots and crowdfunded by people like you to tell stories you don't see anywhere else in the media. We do everything we can to keep our costs as low as possible when we go on these sorts of trips. We take public transportation, we eat on the cheap, and we find the most economical flights. Last year, we stayed in an Airbnb just to keep the costs down, and we stayed in another city. But it still costs a lot of money to go to Europe with just myself and a cameraman. If you can help cover the cost to send me and someone behind the camera to Katowice, Poland, you can contribute at www.rebelun.com. We're going to go there, and we are going to show you what you won't see anywhere else, what really happens in and around a UN climate change conference. If you can help pitch in to cover the cost of our independent journalism, go to www.rebelun.com. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. I'm going to the UN Climate Change Conference in Katowice, Poland in December, whether the UN lets me in or not, but I need your help to do it. If you can help cover the cost of our independent journalism there, go to www.rebelun.com.